Long before rock and roll got the world on its feet, there was another sound. A sound that taught the piano how to thunder, how to roll, and how to drive a dance floor absolutely wild. It was this incredible, steam-powered rhythm that clawed its way out of some of the toughest conditions imaginable to become a global sensation. This is the story of Boogie Woogie.
So what is Boogie Woogie, really? Well, at its heart, it is all about the left hand. Seriously, think of it like a rhythmic engine, just hammering out this constant rolling bass line. We're talking 8 beats to the bar that turns the piano from just an instrument that plays melodies into this unstoppable force of rhythm. The right hand gets to have all the fun, dancing over the top. But that left hand, man, that is the heart of the machine.
And that's the big question, right? Because this music, it sounds like nothing that came before it. It has the chugging, relentless rhythm of a locomotive, the rumble of heavy industry. So to figure out how that sound got inside a piano, we have to go way back and to a place that's about as far from a fancy concert hall as you can get.
Our story kicks off way back in the 1870s, deep in the piney woods of East Texas and Louisiana. We're in the lumber and turpentine camps that popped up after the Civil War. And let me tell you, this was not a place for delicate, refined music. It was a world of backbreaking labor, constant noise, and people who desperately needed to cut loose.
You see, the music was literally born from this environment. Picture it. After a brutal 12-hour shift, workers would cram into these places called barrel houses, which were basically just shacks with a beat-up old piano in the corner. For a pianist to even be heard over that crowd, they had to play loud and they had to play with a beat. So what did they do? They started mimicking the sounds that were all around them, especially the constant chug-chug-chugging of the Texas and Pacific Railway steam engines. This raw, powerful new sound, they called it fast western, and it was the earliest ancestor of Boogie Woogie.
But a sound this powerful doesn't stay in one place for long. Just like those trains they were channeling, the music started to travel. Pianists, a lot of them itinerant, would hop freight cars and carry this new style with them. As part of the Great Migration, they brought this barrel house beat up north to industrial cities like Chicago and Detroit, where, as it turns out, it found a whole new reason to exist.
In the tough, crowded cities of the North, this music became a tool for survival. People would throw house rent parties just to make ends meet. The deal was simple. You pay a little at the door, you get some food, some drink, and non-stop music from a single piano player. And the Boogie Woogie style, it was absolutely perfect for this. That pianist's left hand acted like a one-man rhythm section, laying down a beat so hypnotic it could keep people dancing and paying all night long.
So at this point, you've got this amazing music, passed from player to player, but it didn't really have a formal name. It was just the sound of the party. Well, that all changed in the 1920s, when this raw, functional music finally got captured on a record and was given the name that we all know today.
And when it started to happen, it happened fast. In 1922, those iconic bass patterns were actually written down and published. Then in 27, a guy named Meade Lux Lewis basically perfected the train sound with his incredible recording, Hunky Tonk Train Blues. But the real tipping point, the moment it got its name, came in 1928, all thanks to a pianist named Clarence Pinetop Smith.
See, Pinetop Smith didn't just play the music on his record. He was a showman. He actually shouts out instructions to the dancers right on the track, telling them to do a boogie woogie. It was the very first time that term showed up on a hit record, and it just stuck. The tragic part is, Pinetop was killed by a stray bullet in a dance hall brawl just 1 year later. He never got to see the worldwide phenomenon that he helped name. So, for the next 10 years or so, the music was kind of bubbling right under the surface, a sound known and loved mostly in black communities. But that was about to change, big time. And it was all because of one visionary promoter, a man named John Hammond, who got this crazy idea to bring this raw, powerful sound to one of the most famous stages in the entire world.
1938. You gotta remember this year. This is when everything changed. John Hammond put together a concert called From Spirituals to Swing at New York's Carnegie Hall. He went out looking for the best players he could find. Get this. He found one of them, the great Meade Lux Lewis, working as a car washer in Chicago. And that night at Carnegie Hall, Boogie Woogie wasn't just introduced to white America, it absolutely exploded onto the scene.
I mean, just stop and think about that journey for a second. The contrast is just staggering. This is music that was born in a dirt floor shack for exhausted workers, and now it was being presented as high art to New York's high society in a grand velvet-seated concert hall. It's an incredible story, and it kicked off a national craze almost literally overnight.
And these were the men who lit the fuse that night at Carnegie Hall.
Meade Lux Lewis, Albert Ammons, and Pete Johnson. They became known as the Big Three, and their jaw-dropping, powerful performances made them the faces of the boogie-woogie craze that just completely swept their nation.
But hey, not everyone was thrilled. You have to remember, this music was born in rough-and-tumble places, and a lot of people thought it was disreputable. The pianist Big Joe Duskin tells this great story about how his father, who was a minister, absolutely forbade him from playing the devil's music. Duskin actually waited until after his father passed away, at the age of 105, to start his professional career. It just goes to show you the kind of cultural tension that was swirling around this new, wild sound.
So this sudden fame, it was a bit of a double-edged sword. On one hand, boogie-woogie became the sound of the era, but on the other, it started getting some serious backlash from critics. And even worse, the original pioneers of the music rarely, if ever, saw the profits that came with its massive popularity.
Yeah, as soon as it hit the mainstream, a huge debate kicked off. The jazz legend Fats Waller called it cheap. The famous classical composer Aaron Copland knocked it for its lack of melodic invention, but it had its champions too. People like the composer Morton Gould saw its rhythmic genius and even wrote his own classical piece inspired by it.
But here's the really dark side of all that fame. While white band leaders and big music publishers were making absolute fortunes, the black artists who had actually created the music were often exploited and left with next to nothing. Publishers would do things like copyright the song titles, taking huge cuts of the royalties from the very musicians who invented the entire style.
But here's the thing about a sound this fundamental. Its influence was undeniable, and it was unstoppable. After World War II, the boogie craze itself kind of faded, but its DNA had already seeped into everything. Guitar boogies became a core part of rhythm and blues. It even found a comfortable home in country music. And most importantly, that driving, 8-to-the-bar rhythm became the absolute foundational backbeat for a new sound that was about to change the world, rock and roll. From the rumble of a steam train to the soundtrack of a generation, the story of Boogie Woogie is this powerful reminder that some of the greatest, most enduring art isn't born in fancy studios or concert halls. It's born out of necessity, out of struggle, and out of the need to find a little bit of joy in the toughest of times. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What sounds being created today out of our own modern struggles will be the ones that echo long into the future?